Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division with various wins for a mix of the Shifang Basin and the Kohong Resorts in the Eastern Odyssey Tournament here in Golf Clash the game. Before we take a closer look at all the holes, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. For those of you that are looking for the best guides on the market for tour play and tournament play, you scan the QR code here on the screen or you go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Link is in the description down below and that will take you to the page that will show all our packages, and we do have something for each and every one. Check out the info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also a ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there is always a plan behind it. So let's go to hole number 1. For hole number 1, which is hole number 5 of the Kohong Resorts, this is a par 4 that is difficult, and the reason I do believe this is difficult is because it requires a lot of elevation on the approach if we're going straight forward. You can go over the water on the right and then you will have much less elevation on the approach, but it's also going to be a much longer shot towards the pin. Aiming just straight down the fairway, making sure that we are not too close to the left or too close to the right in relation to the trees, because the trees could then in that case cover the view that we have, and then that's going to be a really tough one to save. Max plus 20 is the adjustment, and if you have the possibility to play with an accurate driver such as the rock or the quarterback, that's definitely recommended. Now for the approach, we are going to play with our sniper, and the sniper here is beautiful in terms of getting a good ball guideline. However though, you can play this one very conservative and you can play this one aggressive. You can either go for a rough bump, which is an aggressive line, or you bounce on the fairway that is before the rough in the sand, over the rough in the sand towards the pin. That's going to be more conservative and it's going to be much harder to drop. However though, it's important that you play with the 40% elevation that we do list on the website and also here, and not doing what I'm doing in the video, which becomes slightly under adjusted, because then that's no point in going an aggressive line if you're gonna miss by as much as I'm doing here in the video. However though, this is not an easy one to drop at all. This is definitely a bonus drop in my opinion, but by playing down towards a flat fairway with a nice rough patch before, that's definitely not a bad opportunity, at least, even though the drop is going to be hard to achieve. For hole number 2 here, I want us to play with the Goliath. Even though you do have the Goliath in a low level, you will still have a lot of topspin, and the topspin is what kind of is required here for this type of shot. Sure, if you do have a higher level Goliath, you have a better ball guideline, and in that case also easier to read the outcome of this shot. Now I'm centering the target into the rough, making sure that I'm not going to miss the rough if I'm having some overpower or underpower on. So I'm saying this one to be more, let's say that we are treating it more to be safe, and then after that obviously going for pin. Medium distance plus 20, aiming with the ball guideline, or at least my intent is to aim with the ball guideline pointing towards the hole, but as the ball guideline is not fully developed, I'm leaving it short, and it's also then hard to know if I'm aiming slightly left or right or straight towards the pin. It's always going to be around the hole with a perfect ball, and a ball with side spin 3 is definitely very much recommended. For hole number 3 from the front tee, which is also hole number 6 of the Kohong Resorts, I want us to play with the big topper here. It doesn't matter what club level you have on the big topper, it's just that the big topper has such a good topspin amount, which means that we can then always reach into a position where in a worst case scenario we will just rescue ourselves for an eagle, or in the best case scenario we're always shooting for an albatross. Max plus 10 is the adjustment, and you can see that I'm using all the topspin that I can together with some left spin. Center the ball, hit perfect, and we're looking to get as far down the fairway possible. What we do need to have in mind though is that a great ball with a big topper is a bit dangerous. And what I mean with that is that the accuracy on the big topper is so bad that a great ball will affect the outcome. And in this case, hitting a great right would most definitely be in the rough. However, though, from there's no problem to rescue it at all. Now, depending on what type of level you have on your sniper, it's either to be the rough bump or you are bouncing on the fairway. Now, with the sniper level 6, I do not have enough topspin to reach towards the pin. Therefore, I, in the end, have to settle for doing a bounce-up play instead. Not my favorite, because you can see that the ball guideline, even with a sniper 6, is pretty terrible, and we're gonna have to guess a lot. So the rough bump is definitely my first option, with the bounce up as a distant second, in my opinion. Only if you can't play the rough bump is when you should be playing the bounce up. And also, if you want to play the bounce up, it should be with the way of thinking like, okay, I'm only looking for an eagle here, and therefore don't want to take any sort of risk. Roll number 7. This is the final part 3, and this is going to be the toughest of the part 3s. And the reason for that is that we do not have a good ball guideline to follow, because it's very difficult to know, are we coming in too hot, are we coming in too slow, or do we have a perfect speed? And also, are we aiming straight at the hole? We don't really know. So what I do here is that I'm using my long iron, and I'm trying to guesstimate if I'm coming in with a good speed, also with the right direction. Looking at the outcome here now, we do have the right direction, but we come in too hot, so we end up rolling over the hole, and that stings a little bit, but it's something that we can obviously correct for the next time. 10% elevation, I'm using a navigator ball to reduce the wind a little bit more, but here you can obviously play with a basic ball, as there isn't really any stats required. And we have a very open fairway, so getting I mean, obviously we can all make mistakes, but this is a par 3 where it's very difficult to make mistakes. I would say that making a mistake is harder than to do a hole-in-one. What I mean with that as well is that making a mistake that would cost you the birdie is harder to make an hole-in-one, in my opinion. Hole number 7, super simple birdie, but definitely a chance for an hole-in-one. Take your game to the next level with our ultimate tournament text guide for the Eastern Odyssey Tournament. And we are offering guides for Pro, Expert, and Master Division, obviously updating for the wind changes throughout the different rounds, catering to free-to-play and also paid balls. Scan the QR code here on the screen, or you go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy and notice yourself how much you will save in both time and money by investing in any of our guides. We are offering something for each and every one, not just for tournament, but also for tour play. So scan the QR code or use the link and sign up today. Hole number 5, which is hole number 9 of the Kohong Resorts, we are going to play on the right hand side. Do never play on the left hand side, because that will just be cause to confusion, as you will have loads of tree in your face on the approach. So we're playing on the right hand side, bouncing with our extra mile over. You can play with other drivers as well, but the important part is that you do have power, because if you don't have power, you might pull yourself into max club, and that's going to then require overpower, and that overpower could be tricky, and then you put the bunker and the rough in play. We're gonna play this drive something else than max plus 25. We're gonna play max plus 10. Standard adjustment here with a 10% elevation, and then we do have the sniper towards the pin. The reason I want the sniper is due to its good ball guideline, because otherwise it's going to be such a massive guess, and it's going to be very difficult for you to have a chance to drop this shot. Now in headwind, playing with a sniper 7 is maybe not super, as we are not really having the distance that we want. I like to leave the ball guideline slightly short, as my experience with this hole that even if the ball guideline is short, we still come in with decent amount of speed. No elevation and true club distance, It's going to be somewhere between medium and maximum distance of our club. Unfortunately, we don't have enough speed to get towards the pin, but we're getting very close. A power 3 ball here is definitely something I would recommend if you want to play with sniper. Otherwise, if you want to play with a big dog or any other club that has more power, a P2 ball is just enough. When it comes to hole number 6, here we are going to gamble a little bit. And what I mean with gamble is that we're going to use all the 4.5 bar topspin and 2 left spin. And we're going to aim center down the fairway. And now we can go a regular shot here and play ourselves to like a max wedge. But that's not what I want to do here. I'm going to go max overpower, and this is what I mean with a gamble. A gamble here is when I'm taking this max overpower, risking of hitting great, but with the reward in mind that if I do hit perfect or just being lucky with a great, I will get much closer to green than what I would otherwise be. Now I will be for a wedge, and this is obviously a wedge that is going to be easier than if we have a longer wedge, something that is very important to have in mind. Obviously then, with the risk that we're taking, is that if you do hit a bad great left or right, you will be ending up into the rough. But from there is still a super simple way for you to get the ball to green and lock in the birdie. But again, that's the risk that you're taking. And if we are looking at the risk versus the reward, I do believe that the risk is worth taking based off the reward that we can be getting if we do make a good drive. But not to have said that this is going to be an easy wedge. You're going to still have to measure to do either an EB school type of version, or you're going to just play it all by feel, which is completely fine that as well. And especially when we do have this type of wind here that is a more or less a straight wind, it gives us definitely some nice room for error. Use the wedge that gives you the best possible ball guideline, and after that use accuracy as a stat. You can see here now, with a perfect ball, we get the ball to roll up onto the green, getting dead center for an eagle here in hole number 6. You can see as well that I'm using a power 5 ball. Here it's most definitely the time where you should be using one of the balls that you have been winning for free in the golden shot. For hole number 7, which is hole number 2 of the Cajon Resorts, we are gonna play from minimum distance. Here it would be recommended to have a club that do not have that much power, which means that we can then find a min line much easier. Now I don't really have a bag like that, and I have to just be just after when it clicks over from the Goliath to Sniper. Now you can see I'm using 4 and a click backspin, which is max backspin on Sniper level 7. If you don't have that amount of backspin on your Sniper, then you can play with the Guardian instead, which obviously has a lot of backspin, and then to just make sure not to overdo the backspin instead. But I believe that this is the best way to attack this pin, in both the way of getting a hole-in-one, but also in the fact of trying to lock in a safe birdie, because trying to bounce higher up, then we put the bunker and the rough in play in a much bigger extent. Medium distance plus 25 is what I would play. Now, that's not what I play in the video, because that is slightly under adjusted, but 25% elevation, mid club, and then you don't have to play with a kingmaker. But when we play such an elevated hole, using a ball with a lot of wind resistance would really help. For hole number 8, here we're going to bounce on the fairway pad over to the second fairway. Here we want to use a side spin 3 ball if possible. If not, then it's not the end of the world. Then we can just use side spin 2 or side spin 1 and compensate with curl. Aiming at the end of the fairway pad here, this to compensate for the compressed ball guideline that we will have in headwind. Max plus 10 is what I'm making as an adjustment, using a little bit of overpower as well to help the ball travel a little bit further. The more topspin you have, the better it's going to be, because that will take you closer towards the pin. So if you do have more than 4.5 bars of topspin, use it all. Second shot here now, we are going to have a look at me playing with a long iron from distance. And here it is, like I always say, it is difficult with a long iron that do not have a 4.5 ball guideline, which you don't have until you get Grizzly level 7 or B52 level 7. So it's gonna take some time for many of you to get there, because I mean it took that for me when I started with a new account in the beginning. But for those of you that have been lucky upgrading your clubs pretty quick, then you're gonna have an advantage, as you can then follow the ball guideline here on the approach. 10% elevation, true club distance, so here I am somewhere between medium and maximum club and trying to make a guess. Unfortunately, this guess doesn't really matter when you do hit great, but in the end, we are looking at the outcome here, which is that the ball is missing where a great should be missing, which also tells us where the ball is ending, is that we do have a good speed for the ball to come in towards the pin. So hit perfect and give yourself a good chance here on hole number 8. For hole number 9, this is a tricky par 5. I would say this is definitely the hardest one to drop, and I'm gonna give you some advice on how to at least give a look at the albatross. So we're gonna go with 4.5 bar topspin and 3 left spin, aiming to be very close to the rough line. Gonna use a little bit more than half a ball of left curl to push the ball more left. The idea here is to get as far down the fairway to the left possible, combined with also being more on the right side, because the more we are to the right side of this fairway, the closer to the green we will be. Max plus 10 is what I'm making as an adjustment. Now, second shot is tricky, all right? Here we're gonna play from very far behind, or like short and pin, so we're gonna have to use top spin. You're seeing 3 right spin, and here comes the right spin of the Kingmaker in as a very good thing, is that, you know, we can take ourselves away from the rough line with our aim point. Aiming at the hole here, I'm adjusting for true club distance, 10% elevation, but just here with this particular spin and particular angle, I'm making a pretty hefty over adjustment based on the result of this shot. In the end though, it's a safe eagle, and here you obviously can decide either you're pushing it more, which will take you closer to the bunker, or you're just making sure that you are playing like a similar shot that I'm doing here, which will lock in the eagle, but will give you a slightly lesser chance for an albatross. Hole 9, the toughest of the holes here of the new beautiful course. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Rookie Division for the Cohong Resorts and the Shifang Basin in the Eastern Odyssey Tournament here in Golf Clash the game. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and also go to patreon.com/golfclashtommy through the link in the description down below, or scan the QR code for the best guides on the market. Thank you so much everybody for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in your Golf Clash game.